today we want, first of all, to experience what does it mean to be in the old Saturn. What does it mean? We said that each of these phases lives inside us, lives inside our soul. We experience it. So today we will try to experience what does it mean to be in old Saturn. How would it be if I am now coming there with a spaceship and visiting old Saturn? And Steiner tells us that if we would visit now as human beings on Earth in ancient Saturn, we would be, our soul would be filled of anxiety, horror, great fear, great emptiness. And why is that? Do you know?
Because of the emptiness that we would encounter there?
Yeah, but why would we encounter emptiness? That's right.
Well, if there's no real physical, so there's no normal orientation that we have for perceiving, so we wouldn't understand.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. In old Saturn, nothing from everything that we are familiar with existed. Just imagine that you're entering a place. We can't even say place. You know, when we say place, there are boundaries, there is space, there is air, there are all kinds of physical objects, there is in and out. Imagine that you arrive to a place, we're talking now about the beginning of ancient Saturn. Imagine that you are coming to, I don't know, entering an essence, that nothing from everything that you are familiar with and used to lie on exists. There is no space. There is no time. Time only arrives later in ancient Saturn, but at the beginning there is no time and no space. These are the first dimensions that we are used to lie on in the Earth. There is no weight. There is no back and forth, no up and down, no in and out. There is nothing that you can catch with your senses. And actually you don't even have senses. There is no light. It is dark. And when we say dark, you have to think of darkness, of complete darkness. Even in the night, yeah, if we go out in the night, there is darkness, but even if we are in a place in the nature with no artificial lights, we have stars, we have the moon, we can see something usually. So try to imagine complete darkness. Try to imagine complete emptiness. There aren't any other human beings. There is no life. Because the germ of the physical body of the human being is not alive yet. And when we say physical body, it's not a physical body like ours. It's kind of an egg form that is created out of heat. But this also is created only in about the middle of ancient Saturn. So at the beginning also this doesn't exist. It's not easy to imagine it. Soon we will read some quotes. Maybe we will read them now. We will read some quotes that Steiner describes. How is it to visit ancient Saturn? Yeah. You can read, please.
I could read.
Yeah, thank you.
And now, if you wish to form an idea of that soul disposition, which a person must have if he really holds the thought that everything is taken away and the person alone remains, we cannot say otherwise than that he must learn to feel dread and fear of the infinite emptiness yawning around him. He must be able to feel, as it were, his environment tinged and saturated with that which inspires dread and fear wherever he turns. And at the same time, he must be able to overcome this fear by inner firmness and certainty. Without these two frames of mind, dread and fear of the infinite emptiness of existence and the overcoming of this fear, it is impossible to have the faintest conception of the ancient Saturn existence underlying our own world.
Thank you, Ariana. Yes, we will see later how the courage enters, how we can overcome this fear, this great anxiety. And let's read a second quote. You can read now?
I can read it.
Thank you, Joseph.
To understand what underlies the world, it does not suffice to speak of it in concepts, or to form concepts and ideas on it. It is far more necessary to call up an impression of the feeling aroused by the infinite emptiness of the ancient Saturn existence. A feeling of horror accompanies the mere hint of it. If we wish to ascend clairvoyantly to the state of Saturn, we must prepare ourselves by acquiring a feeling that may be compared to the giddiness experienced on a mountain when a person stands at the edge of an abyss and feels that he has no sure footing under him, that he cannot retain it in any place, and wants to give way to forces over which he has no longer any control. But that is only the most elementary of these apprehensive feelings. Next, he loses not only the ground beneath him, but also what eyes can see, ears hear, and hands grasp. In fact, all spatial environment. And he can do no other than lose every thought that may come to him, in a sort of condition of dimness or sleep, and then he can arrive at having no perception at all.
Thank you. Yes. So in our biography, as I said before, we experiences of ancient Saturn. We experience these experiences when we have a crisis, something falls apart, something that we were used to rely on, something that we were sure that will stay forever, or that we won't be able to continue if we won't have it. It can be a relationship. It can be being fired from our work. It can be an illness. But it can also be even a smaller event, when suddenly someone we love and rely on suddenly attacks us or acts in a way that is unfamiliar to us and that makes us very frightened and very confused and very uncertain. And it can be also when something comes out of me that I'm not familiar of. Yeah, when suddenly I act or do something that I didn't know that is inside me. And I feel like a total stranger to myself. This is very frightening. It can happen, for instance, when we look in the mirror, we get up in the morning and look in the mirror, and suddenly we look strange to ourselves. And we can ask, who is this looking at me in the mirror? Stranger. And there are many other examples. Take a moment and think, when did you meet and in what way did you meet old Saturn?